Now let's go to correspondent Gwyneth Dolan. She sat down recently with two candidates running for the New Mexico Supreme Court this year.
Judge Michael Vigil, thank you for being with us. And Justice Judith Nakamura, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Some people watching this will just want to know, what are your personal views on abortion or the death penalty or transgender bathrooms? But it's unethical for judges to answer questions like that because their job is to interpret the law and not according to their personal opinions. So today we're just going to try to help you get to know them a little better. Everybody knows that for lawyers, Judge Vigil, working in private practice probably pays a lot better than being a judge. So you worked in private practice for 24 years. You did a lot of criminal defense, personal injury, medical malpractice work before joining the Court of Appeals. Why did you decide to be a judge?
It goes back to my first job was working in the New Mexico Supreme Court building for the New Mexico Court of Appeals, which I was there for 3 years. And you walk in that building, and it's a beautiful building. It's an old building, and you walk in, and you're just in awe of what happens in that building and what the judges do for the people of the state of New Mexico in that building. And it's kind of like something that you aspire to want to be and to try and become. And it's something in the bit that was in the back of my mind for many, many years. And an opening came, and I talked to some family and friends, and I was encouraged to apply. And so I decided I wanted to put the unique background that I had to work for the people of the state of New Mexico.
Justice Nakamura, you worked in politics for a while. In the beginning of your career, you worked on President Reagan's inauguration committee for Senator Pete Domenici, and you were a political director for the state Republican Party. What made you decide to get out of politics and become a judge?
Well, you know, when I was involved in politics, someone said to me, wiser than I, this is not a career, go to law school. You don't have to practice law, but it'll teach you how to think, and it's a career you could use throughout your life. So I went to law school. I got out of law school with way too much student loans, so I had to practice law after all. And then after practicing law for a period of time, I realized that I didn't enjoy it. And I realized part of why I didn't enjoy the practice of law was because I didn't like some of what I saw in terms of how judges behaved. It's come a long way because of commissions like judicial standards or judicial performance, and I think judges' behavior has improved greatly. But back then, I saw judges I felt that weren't being particularly respectful to the institution, to the litigants, and to their colleagues, and I felt they didn't do much to move the cases along, and they weren't following the rules and the law. And so, feeling fairly frustrated about that, I decided to run for judge, vowing never to repeat the behaviors I thought were inappropriate.
You're in a political campaign now. You've both had to raise small amounts of money, but the race is publicly funded. According to New Mexico In Depth, you two have reserved more local TV ad time this year than any other candidates so far. Judge Vigil, you've scheduled more than $120,000 in ads, and Justice Nakamura about $90,000. That's a lot of money. What's at stake here, Judge Vigil?
What's it in terms of the election? What's at stake? What's at stake is who's going to occupy the 5th seat on the New Mexico Supreme Court, which is the highest and last court of review in the state of New Mexico. And I intend to let the people of the state of New Mexico know who I am and what I stand for. And the best way to get that message out, I think, is through television and radio. Because you can only, you know, it's a big state. You can only drive so many miles. There's so many miles so many hours in the day, and we both still have jobs to do. And so, to me, that's an efficient way for the people to take a look at my message, who I am, and make their decision.
I've seen pictures of both of you online out at parades and fairs and community meetings and things like that. You know, not all states require judges to run in a partisan election. Do you feel like this process takes some of your time and attention away from your job?
Oh, of course it does. You know, and the judge is exactly right. This is a very difficult process because we have jobs where we're all working more than 40 hours a week already. And although, by the way, that $200,000 that we received sounds like a lot of money, you need to keep in mind the last governor's race that ran in the same territory we did as well was more than $10 million spent. So we have very little money to reach a whole lot of folks. It takes time from our jobs, and I think everyone's just trying to reach as many voters as we can as efficiently as possible. I've been very fortunate. I've gotten out there and walked in parades and met people throughout our state. It's been enjoyable doing that, but the Judge Vigil and I were just speaking, I think we're both ready,
Ready
for
for
this
the
process to end, yes.
So you are the only Republican on the court now.
That's correct.
But you are also part of a female majority, which you created when you were nominated to the court. Is that diversity important to you?
Oh, diversity is always important. It's important that you have people in government on your courts that reflect your community. And certainly if you're a reflection of your community, people will believe that you understand the impact of your decisions on them. It's been special to be a part of the first female majority. Throughout the state as I travel, I have grandmas and moms saying, you know, you can be like her, you can go to the court, and we take pictures together and they post them. So yeah, it's been special to me to be part of the first female majority. And I'm trying to keep it. Sorry, Judge.
Well, Judge Vigil, how would you contribute to diversity on the court? In the way that Justice Nakamura was just talking about, representing the community.
Well, I bring a very unique perspective to the decisions that I render on the New Mexico Court of Appeals. First of all, I was a lawyer for 27 years before I became a judge. I litigated just about every kind of case there is over the course of 24 years, plus my 3 years on the Court of Appeals. During that, and during civil cases, criminal cases, jury cases, non-jury cases, when somebody loses a case, they want to appeal. And so when I first applied for the New Mexico Court of Appeals, I learned, to my surprise, that I had over 50 precedent-setting cases on the books where I was the lawyer that argued the case to the New Mexico Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, and Federal Court, covering a vast spectrum of the law. The other thing is that I bring to the table is I've been on the New Mexico Court of Appeals now 13 years, going on 14. I'm now the chief judge. I've sat on over 3,000 appeals covering all areas of the law, and I've written over 1,000 opinions for the court. So that's a diversity of experience and background that I bring that I hope to bring to the New Mexico Supreme Court.
Justice Nakamura, you were the chief judge in the Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court, and you served for 2 years in the district court before Governor Susana Martinez named you to the state Supreme Court. How did that experience in Metro Court and district court prepare you for the highest court?
Well, I think it's prepared me in a number of ways. The Supreme Court has two very distinct, important roles. In addition to hearing cases and rendering opinions, the court also has supervisory authority over the courts throughout the state. We manage the courts throughout the state. So obviously being chief judge of the largest, busiest court in the state of New Mexico, being selected by my colleagues for 4 consecutive terms and managing that court with its $22 million budget and over 300 employees is important management experience to bring to the highest court that supervises the courts throughout the state. Because I have hands-on experience with respect to making decisions on how to streamline the court system and create efficiencies in that particular court, experience I could bring to the court statewide. Additionally, while on the Metropolitan as well as the district court, I served in the criminal bench. 65% of the cases the court hears in the Supreme Court are criminal cases, and I have hands-on experience with how the decisions the Supreme Court makes with respect to the rules it implements for the court. I know firsthand how those rules impact the trial judges who are making the important day-to-day decisions.
Judge Vigil, I think you talked a little bit about this in your last answer with talking about the diversity of cases you've handled, but is there something else that you think would contribute to your leadership on the court?
Part of my campaign is premised on the idea that quiero ser el juez de la plebe. I wish to be the judge of the people on the Supreme Court of the state of New Mexico. I bring a heart to the decisions that I make, premised on the fact that I have gone to court with people sitting next to me that their lives depend on what I do for them as an attorney. And so now that I've been an appellate court judge for this period of time, I know how those decisions we make affect people's lives. A decision you make may affect the children, the spouse, the families, and not just the parties. And we're making decisions that have precedence for all of the state of New Mexico. So as a consequence of that, one of the things that I've said is that justice isn't only about laws, it's about lives.
Justice Nakamura and Judge Vigil, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.